I've had several students ask me how to create this documentation page. As you know, the documentation page is not given to you, and in this instance, I've created an example. Now keep in mind, your grade will not be determined on how exotic or how beautiful your documentation page is, but what's going to be most important is that the contents of what is presented here is. Now you can always add more, but just make sure that you do not add less. Let me give you a quick example of how to create this documentation page. And in order to do that, I'm going to actually go ahead and open a blank, um, a blank new workbook. And imagine that I am going to start from scratch to create a documentation page. So of course, the first thing I'm going to do is create a documentation sheet, and I'm going to do certain things. So the first thing that I know that I want, I'm going to start somewhere here in the middle. Let's just say that I know that this is the AppWitch uh, data analytics project. And I'm going off memory, and so of course, certain information is going to be maybe a little bit different. I know the other thing that I need to include at this is the data analytics project part 1. I need to include my name, and then I need to create the date it was prepared. So I'm just going to say that just to give a new date, a date that's going to be different than the created at, I'm just going to go ahead and put March 1st, 2020. But then the other piece of information I want is when it was created. So this is going to be a formula. So the formula you should know already is the today. So now you can kind of see all the components. Now at a bare minimum, I would almost accept this as your documentation. However, I would expect you would have things like name. I would probably say project, and then maybe deliverable, and I would expect that you would have some type of formatting in play. So that could be somewhat acceptable, although I would hope that given all the training that you've had on being able to do some formatting and do other kind of variations with Excel, I would hope that you could do more than that. So you might lose a point or two. It depends on the mood that I'm in or the grader is in when they look at your documentation. But let's not focus on that component too much. Let's talk about how we can make it look similar to what I had before. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to change the, I know I don't want these things. Well, you know what, for this case, maybe I will. Let's go ahead and I'm just going to change this cell style to the title. I'm going to create this cell style maybe to, let's say, I don't know, heading 2. I want the cell style here to be just nothing actually. Maybe I might increase this a couple points, and I want this to be located here. Now we're already pretty close to where where I want to end up. The other thing I want to do is I want to make sure that column widths and all these other details are appropriate. So what I don't like is I don't like the fact that the dates are that far apart. So I'm going to change that column width to 5. The other thing I don't like, I want to put a border. So one of the things that I like to do is perhaps something of this nature. And so that's an outside border. I don't like the color, so I'm going to come up here to more borders, and I'm going to go ahead and change the color to a dark blue, go outline, and there we go. Now I want to have some space to the left, so I'll insert a space. I want these outside boundaries to be rather narrow, so I'm going to reduce those to 3. And I want this AppWitch data project not to overlap a little bit. So I will increase one of the columns. So what I'm going to probably do is just increase these. I'm going to increase these to 12. And then I want to put some lines in here. So I will put a line here. And I'm going to go, since I want to keep that blue, I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. Solid line, I'm just going to go ahead and put it at the bottom. And I don't like this line here, so again, I'll do the same thing. More borders, keep it blue, and then go right here. All right, and then I will repeat with the name. And then one more time with the dates. There we go. Oh wait, that was black. I want to maintain the blue, so go back and replace that as well. Now I might make some adjustments. I notice a couple things. I don't necessarily like this column, so if I deleted it, then it changes a few things. So what I probably will end up doing is something of this nature and clean it up. Now the last thing that I would do is, I didn't want to do that. I actually wanted to change the width to like a 5. So, and I want to put this at the top of the sheet. To make this a little bit more presentable, I might go to View and hide the grid lines. And now I have something that looks like the documentation that I gave you before. It's not quite the same, but what I want you to do is be creative in creating your documentation sheet. So I hope this video helps you out in creating a documentation sheet. And of course, the expectation is that this documentation sheet will exist in all other parts of the project. So you'll easily be able to copy this into your other workbooks for future submissions.